walked like a fearless child. What was fastened we've unlocked, revealing wondrous wild. And in search of confirmation, we have jumped into the fire and scrambled with our burning feet through uncontrolled desire. And in darkness we do what we can. In daylight we're oblivion. Our hearts so raw and clear are turning away, turning away from here. There's a well upon the hill from our ancient past, where in ages standing still, holding strong and fast. And there's those that try to tame it and to carve it into stone, but words cannot extinguish it, however hard they're thrown. And in darkness we do what we can. In daylight we're oblivion. Our hearts so raw and clear are turning away from here. On Loch Etive they had worked with their highland dreams. By Kilcrennan they had nourished in the mountain streams. And in searching for acceptance they had given it away. Only the children of their children know the price they had to pay. And in darkness we do what we can. In daylight we're oblivion. Our hearts so raw and clear are turning away from here. And in darkness we do what we can. In daylight we're oblivion. Our hearts so raw and clear are turning away from here.
Thank you all for coming out on a Thanksgiving weekend. There's a couple of chairs up there, free up here, and there's one chair back here. I don't know whether there are any more chairs, so make yourself. They're grabbing out a few more stools.
Over there.
Don't sit on the ground.
Yeah.
And if you want to pull the sleeping bag up in front a bit more here, if you want to, you're very welcome to do that. My name is Eogo Tuama, and I'm from Cork in Ireland.
And I'm Christy Martin from San Diego, California.
There you go. And we collectively go under the name 4 Shillings Short, which is a quotation from a James Joyce short story. I hear a phone, switch off your cell phone. Switch off your cell phone. James Joyce was a writer, of course, who wrote Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake and Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man. 3 books that 10 people on earth have managed to read, comprehend, fashion a college career upon. And I think we'll get the other sleeping bag from the car, will we?
Yeah, there's also a couple of yoga mats.
Oh, there's a couple of yoga mats there too. But he wrote a much more comprehensible collection of short stories called Dubliners. And in Dubliners, there's a story called The Mother. And the mother's daughter is a musician who gets deprived of 4 shillings that was due to her. So she ended up 4 shillings short and I thought that that was a good description of the state of musicians in this world, and I'm sticking to my story. So we're playing here for your donations. There's a very sexy pig basket up there on the table, and whatever you can afford, and kids are free, of course, and all that, you know. So we started off.
We started off with a couple of tunes from Ireland on the hammered dulcimer, a slow air, a jig, a hornpipe, and the slide.
And the slow air was called The Lament for Limerick. It was written about the time at the end of the Cromwellian invasion of Ireland, when Limerick was under assault, and it was the end of the old Irish way of doing things, so that lament is very significant. And then
we were playing a couple of other tunes. I was playing the hammered dulcimer, which is a descendant of an ancient Persian instrument that dates back over 1,000 years, called the santur. The santur is also a trapezoidal soundboard with strings stretched across, played with little hammers. At the break, you're welcome to come up and take a look at this amazing instrument. The santur traveled to Europe during the Crusades as a war prize and influenced the development of the piano. Now, if you were to open up the inside of a piano, you would see a soundboard similar to this. And when you hit a key on a piano, a little hammer comes down and hits a course of strings. So this is the concept upon which the piano is based. Now, this hammered dulcimer is an American instrument that we had popular here in the States in the 1800s. We had factories in Pennsylvania and New York turning out hammered dulcimers to be used in barn dances and churches as a substitute for a piano. Now this one has a damper pedal on it, so I can push down on this pedal and the dampers come down and you get both an open and a soft.
Makes it sound a little bit like a harpsichord. And I was playing wooden tin whistles, a low D wooden tin whistle and a high D wooden tin whistle. The tin whistle is one of the simplest instruments known to man. 6 holes, you cover them all, lift a finger, then blow a little harder. So there you have 2 octaves, simple instrument. And then I was playing the spoons. The spoons are pretty easy to play. You can do this with metal spoons. They hurt the legs a bit, but the hardest thing about the spoons is the hold. Once you've got the hold so that it's not flopping all over the place, then you just do that. Then you hold your fingers outstretched. You do that. And then with the back of your hand and a little flick of the wrist, you do that. You combine all that. And you've got it. You can try this with your mother's best silver spoon. No, of course, the hammered dulcimer is the direct opposite of the sober dulcimer, as everyone knows.
Then we continued with a song called Turning Away, written by Dougie MacLean, a wonderful singer-songwriter from Scotland. And we shared a festival with him last year in Grass Valley, California. And at that festival, when he started to sing that song, 5,000 people were singing with him.
That chorus.
And we had to have that song. So
a week later we were performing it. It's on our new CD. And he said,
I channeled this song from the ancestors. And the ancestors are speaking to us even now from the blackness of their graves. And they want us to know that they would appreciate it if we would occasionally remember the good things that they did and not focus on their mistakes. And would we, by the way, learn from their mistakes. So shall we bring up the sitar?
Okay, so the sitar from India was Christie's first instrument. She studied it with a protege of Ravi Shankar. Ravi Shankar was teaching at UCLA at the time, and Tony Karasik, Christie's teacher,
studied with Ravi Shankar.
And took care of Ravi Shankar's sitars and accompanied him for about 25 years.
Now the sitar dates back about 700 years and is a combination of 2 instruments, the satar from Persia and the veena from India. Now the veena is made out of a gourd and long neck, and so is the sitar, so you can see how the 2 combined became the sitar. The sitar is made out of a big gourd, a pumpkin that's been cured for a few years and then made into the body of the instrument. Then the neck is made out of teak. The pegs are rosewood. There are 20 strings on the modern sitar, 2 layers of strings. On top you have 7 main playing strings, of which 3 are drones, providing harmony, 3 rhythm strings, and 1 main playing string. The sound travels down the top bridge into the body of the instrument, causing a second bridge of 13 sympathetic resonating strings to vibrate. So when you hit a note on top, the echo you hear are the strings underneath. You can also reach underneath with your pinky nail and grab the strings in a cascade.
And of course the sitar is so called because you have to sit to play it, otherwise it would be called the stantar. We're going to combine the sitar from India with a song by Robert Burns, the Bard of Scotland. Robert Burns lived in the 18th century, composed about 3,000 poems and songs, and fathered 14 children before he died of exhaustion at the age of 37. Mozart, of course, died at 37, as did Stephen Foster, who wrote Oh Susanna, Camptown Races, all these, who wrote it. So we figured if we've lived past 37 and you're a musician, it's all gravy. Yeah. So this is a song of his called My Love is Like a Red, Red Rose, but it travelled to Ireland. They changed the melody, they changed the words, so it bears some resemblance to Robert Burns' song. A red, red rose grown in your garden fair, and me to be the gardener of her I would take care. There's not a month throughout the year that my love I would bring. I garnish her with flowers fine, through young time. butterfly, I'd light on my lover's breast. Or if I was a blue cuckoo, I'd sing my love to rest. Or if I was a nightingale, I'd sing the daylight clear. I'd sit and sing for you, Molly, for once I loved you dear. I wish I was in Dublin town and seated on the grass, and in my right hand a jug of punch, and on my knee a lass. I'd call for liquor freely, and I'd pay thee before I go, and I'd hold you in my arms, let the wind blow high or low. Red, red rose running yon garden fair, and me to be the gardener of her I would take care. There's not a month throughout the year that my love I would renew. I'd garnish her with flowers fine, sweet brilliant time and blue. I'd garnish her with flowers fine, sweet William time and blue. So I started 4 shillings short. I hope you can all find seats and that you're not sitting on the cold floor too much. But there's one seat over there.
There's
one seat over here for anyone who wants it. And by the way, they came across us at a wonderful place near Visalia called Springville at the River Ridge Ranch. A wonderful place. And we played there a couple of times. It's kind of like a kiva. A round big building, beautiful, and see concerts there. And they came across us, and when they heard we were going to be in the area, they invited us to do this concert. So thank you all for coming out. The bowl psalteries.
Now, these instruments are called the psaltery, spelled P-S-A-L-T-E-R-Y. The psaltery is a medieval instrument that dates back at least 1,200 years, possibly even farther. It's a member of the zither family. A zither is classified as a sound box with strings stretched across, so the hammered dulcimer is also a zither.
By the way, there will be a test on the way out today.
Now, in this case, it's a bowed zither, and the psaltery is set up like a piano. It's a fully chromatic instrument. You play the bow between the pins. So if you were to imagine that these are the black keys of the piano and these pins are the white keys of the piano, you can see the familiar 2-3-2-3 arrangement of the accidentals. So you play it.
All the strings are resounding,
like so,
with the main emphasis being on the note you're bowing, of course. And the bow, yeah, that's it.
So we'll be playing for you a sultry duet of a medieval dance tune from England called Nonesuch.
We occasionally do music from England, just to prove that I bear absolutely no malice against the English for 800 years of subjugation, exploitation, degradation, humiliation, and taxation without representation. But I'm seeing a therapist. even though Sigmund Freud did say that you can successfully psychoanalyze every race on earth except for the Irish.
He did actually say that.
He did. Forestall any questions about that. The only album that the sound of the Psalters is on is our new one that we took possession of 3 weeks ago, and it's called Pass It On, and it features on the front cover a picture by Stephen Gardner here, who took it in San Marcos when we were doing a house concert. When was it? Last year?
Last March.
Yes. March. And the rest of the album is from, the pictures are from Utah, Canyonlands and Lake Powell. But we did the album live in front of a small audience in a studio in Boulder, Colorado last June. And this is the title song of it.
This is the title song of this new album we just produced. It's a song that I wrote because we were coming down to San Diego last March, at the end of March, and we were playing at my father and stepmother's church. And they were studying nonviolence communication training for the month of March. Their whole church was, a lot of people in their church were taking nonviolence communication training and studying the works of Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, you know, it'd be nice if you could write a song
about nonviolence.
And I thought, now that's an interesting topic. So I started to write in my songbook and my journal and think about that. And, you know, I don't really know anybody violent who's very violent. But I do know that we can be very violent towards ourselves when we judge ourselves harshly. Or when we have that negative self-talk like, oh, I'm not good enough. I could never do that. What would people think? You know, we sabotage ourselves with those kind of thoughts. And we can hurt each other a lot when we speak out of impatience or anger or sarcasm even. It can hurt a very gentle soul, like a knife to the heart. It might be lodged in there for years and stop them from thinking positively about themselves. So this is a song about being more gentle and kind and compassionate. A song called Pass It On, The Gift of Love is Free.
And when we were driving to their church, when I was driving to their church last March, Christy was writing the melody as we were driving to the church.
No pressure. No pressure.
In a dark and heavy world, and know the strength of kindness and mercy. For harshness is easy and judgment cuts so deep. You carry a sword or a beacon. Pass it on, pass it on. The gift of love is free. Pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. The gift of love is free. Pass it on. When the words of another have wounded your heart, will you lash out in vengeance and reaction? Oh, can you find the wisdom to give another chance and open your heart with forgiveness? Pass it on, pass it on. The gift of love is free. Pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. The gift of love is free. Pass it on. May your wise and caring words comfort those in need and inspire a circle of goodness that travels o'er the world through every word and deed, bringing peace and loving kindness. Pass it on, pass it on. The gift of love is free. Pass it on, pass it on.
alto voice of the mandolin family. I also have a regular mandolin here, and then the Irish bouzouki, which is the tenor voice of the mandolin family. The bouzouki originated in Greece. There, it's a round-backed instrument with a long neck, and it became popular in Irish music, and so the Irish adapted it into their music, and so this is a short-scale Irish bouzouki, the tenor voice of the mandolin family.
We're next going to do a set of tunes, 4 tunes from Ireland, all bearing the same name, with words in the Irish language interspersed. My first language was Irish. I grew up in the home speaking Irish, and I learned English on the streets when my parents kicked me out, which was often. Which explains why I speak English so good, really. But the translation of this is, when the cock crows, heralding the day, the pig comes knocking on the door, wanting to be let in, the hen and her brood are sound asleep, and the sheep and the lambs are at peaceful rest. Tá chilach a fógart an bhae. I started 4 Shillings Short in Palo Alto in 1985 with a guy from Phoenix. Went through many combinations in the next decade, and then Christy and I met in 95. We soon fell in love and started playing together in both one another's bands, and then we went on our first little tour in 96 down to Southern California. And we then went on our first national tour in 97. We did 60 gigs, 90 days, 30,000 miles, 30 states, and we were still talking to one another. and then, so we decided in 98 to go on the road for 7 months. At the end of that, we stopped paying rent and
had a big garage sale.
Got rid of everything that we possibly could. We've a little more to get rid of still. But we then had a room available in Palo Alto in a big house when we were back on the West Coast. But, and just recently now it's in Cupertino. But basically we tour, full time. The only time we're not touring is when we're in Ireland and caring for my mother, giving my brothers a break with my mother. And so basically it's we're full-time bards. We're free-range people, but we're house-trained. And as we said earlier, we're playing here for your donations, whatever you can afford. Our CDs are only $10. It's the recession depression price. And we have a mailing list. To get on our mailing list, we'll be coming out with 2 new recordings besides the one we have there in the next few months. A recording we started a year and a half ago that features Christy's sister Susie, who's a jazz singer doing backup vocals, a wonderful cellist doing cello parts, and a guitarist who also plays the bass on it, and a fiddler piper. And we'll be finishing mixing that mid-January, so we'll have that. The only way you'll hear about it is by getting on our mailing list. And then I have been conducting a choir of an Irish Catholic Mass in the Irish language for the last 25 years in the Bay Area. And we'll be coming out with a recording of that probably by February. We recorded it last April. So it's a 30-voice choir, organ, many instruments, highly ornamented, highly melodic music by 4 composers, including myself. So this is
a song for the winter that I wrote called "Blow Ye North Winds Blow," and what the instrument I'm playing is the charango from the Andes Mountains. Now the charango dates back about 600 years. It was originally made out of the shell of an armadillo. This one's made out of wood. It's based on the vihuela, a type of Spanish guitar, the bandera, a type of Spanish mandolin, and the lute. The charango has 10 strings on it, 10 nylon strings. And I'm going to, so this is a song, we're going to start out with a medieval song for the winter and then go into this other one.
This is a medieval English piece from about the 13th century. Merry it is while the summery last, with fugle's song, och nor naked windes blast, and weather strong. Aye, what this nicht is long, and ich wit well michel wrong, sorrow and mourn fast. Merry it is while the weather lasts, with fogle's song, och nor naked windes blast, and weather strong. Aye, what this nicht is long, and ich wit well michel wrong, sorrow and mourn fast.
The aspen, oak, and maple trees, with emerald, gold, and ruby leaves, dance in whirling dervish hair, lie crumpled now against the stair. So blow, ye north winds blow, and bring the rain and snow. The whales and geese are heading south to leave behind the cold. So blow, ye north winds blow. The farmer's plow sits in the shed, the miller grinds the flour for bread, the fox and bear for sleep prepare, for winter's frost is drawing near. So blow, ye north winds blow, and bring the rain and snow. The whales and geese are heading south to leave behind the cold. So blow, ye north winds blow. The pumpkin fields growing sweet, the fruits and nuts fall from the trees. For harvest feast we gather round and thank the sacred fertile ground.
are heading south to leave behind the cold. So blow, ye north winds, blow. Bleak and bitter, darkest night, December solstice dressed in white. The spicy wassail bowl is made of mistletoe and Yule log laid. So blow, ye north winds, blow, and bring the rain and snow. The whales and geese are heading south to leave behind the cold. So blow, ye north winds, blow. Another year comes to an end. Make your peace with foe and friend. Ancient time waits for no one. Be ye old or ever young. So blow, ye north winds, blow, and bring the rain and snow. The whales and geese are heading south to leave behind the cold. So blow, ye north winds, blow, ye north winds, blow, ye north winds, blow. And then, yeah, I know which one.
We'll do two more pieces and take a short break. There is sort of, I don't know how the tea and cookies. There's actually gluten-free cookies that we brought along with us.
Gluten-free
There are
brownies.
brownies
As
there.
well.
But we'll do this piece and we'll finish with one more song. Oh, we probably should do something a bit more on to finish it. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Sorry. We go into schools a lot and we do low bono and pro bono concerts in the schools.
We call our
Full
show
assemblies.
Around the World in 30 Instruments, and you know, sometimes we get 40 minutes we can play a school
50
assembly,
minutes.
50 minutes, and we try to fit all of these instruments into that short period of time, and so we have to develop pieces that allow us to have the maximum punch.
So this is a piece we developed. It's a French piece of music by Arbeau. He was a dance teacher, and a treatise from the 15th century was left with the horse's brongla as one of the main tunes there. A brongla was a courtly dance. So we'll start off with the bass recorder. There are two ranges of recorder lower than the bass recorder. There's the contrabass recorder and there's the gross bass recorder. The gross bass recorder is so tall you have to stand on a little step unit in order to play it. I tried one when I was at Stanford and I was able to get about 2 notes out of it because my fingers are too short. And then, this is for my German friends here.
The baby
recorder. This is called the Garklein, which is the very, 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 very precise German word for smaller than small. Well, Klein means small and Gar means beyond small. So this is the Garklein. This is the smallest of them all. And then we'll take out a few more instruments doing that. called the Sopranino Rauschpfeife, and is a capped double reed instrument. There's a small little double reed inside there, and it comes from a family that was very prevalent during the Renaissance. A lot of capped double reed instruments and various other reed instruments. The reason that they're good modern reproductions of the instruments of the Renaissance is there was a composer called Michael Praetorius who left behind scale drawings of all the capped winds, the brass, the oboe kind of instruments like the shalmai, and the strings and the percussion and all that. That's why modern makers can make good instruments with accuracy. This is called the Gems horn. It used to be made from a horn of a wild goat found in the Bavarian Alps. They're called Gemsen. When you go to the Bavarian Alps south of München, and you go hiking there, which I did for a week, I saw a herd of these. They're like a mixture. They're like a mixture between an antelope and a small goat, and it sounds like this on its own. This, like the other one, is a stop on the church pipe organ. So this Gems horn, there's a Gems horn stop, and there's a Krumm horn stop. Krumm from the German for curved. Again, it's a capped double reed instrument with a reed a bit bigger than a bassoon. And this is the bass Krumm horn. King Henry VIII used to compose trios and quartets for the Krumm horns between executions. I don't know which came first, the executions or the Krumm horn. So it sounds like this on its own. Like a large kazoo, huh? And so when you hear four of these together, the soprano, alto, tenor and bass Krumm horns all together, you'll understand why this instrument is now extinct. So we're going to end off this set with
one more song.
One more song.
Now, people often ask us about certain topics in the Irish diaspora. And one topic in particular keeps coming up. What are leprechauns? Are they real? Are they animal, vegetable, or mineral? Well, we searched far and low for the definitive answer to that question. And it turns out that 200 years ago, in the far northwestern corner of Ireland, in County Donegal, there was a leper colony. And that year, Arthur Guinness, the man who made the famous pint of Guinness, was feeling very charitable and decided to send some barrels of his finest Guinness up to the poor lepers.
It was near Killybegs, wasn't it? It was near Killybegs, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was near Killybegs. So he loaded the barrels onto a cart and sent it on its way. And as the cart was drawing near, it hit a big rock, and the barrels of Guinness came flying off the cart into a huge field of shamrocks. And the shamrocks absorbed the Guinness, grew arms and legs, and started to dance around, and that's what we call leprechauns.
Oh, leprechaun stew is tasty and sweet, for leprechauns are the very best meat. They're not a bit greasy or stringy or tough. Take one little bite and you can't get enough.
Last Saturday morning, just about 10, while my wife was pounding my head with a pan, from outside our cottage there came a great roar,
and a gang of drunk leprechauns burst through the door. Well, they took all my money, my wife and my dog, and headed straight out to their den in the bog. I went and found Tony, said, what should I do? And his simple solution was leprechaun stew. Oh, leprechaun stew is tasty and sweet, for leprechauns are the very best meat. They're not a bit greasy or stringy or tough. Take one little bite and you can't get enough.
So me and Tony and some other men crossed over the bog to the leprechaun den. We heard my wife cussing way down in the ground, and fighting and crying and other such sounds.
In a short little while the leprechaun men came boiling out of that leprechaun den. They were battered and beaten and bloody and sore, and all of them looked like they'd been in a war. Oh, leprechaun stew is tasty and sweet, for leprechauns are the very best meat. They're not a bit greasy or stringy or tough. Take one little bite and you can't get enough.
So we rounded 'em up and we took 'em to town, and everyone gathered from miles around. The kettle was boiling, the fire was blazing, the leprechauns' faces were surely amazing.
The leprechaun king said, "If you'll spare my life, I'll give back your money, your dog and your wife. Me dog and me money I'm wanting, that's true, but as for my wife, she'll be living with you." Oh, leprechaun stew is tasty and sweet, for leprechauns are the very best meat. They're not a bit greasy or stringy or tough. Take one little bite and you can't get enough.
The leprechaun king looked me right in the eye and said,
"Is it live with that woman or die?"
I said, "That's the story, it's sad, but it's true.
You can live with my wife or be leprechaun stew. Well, the leprechaun king, he just shook his head, jumped into the kettle and shortly was dead. The rest of the leprechauns followed him too, and soon we had gallons of leprechaun stew. Oh, leprechaun stew is tasty and sweet, for leprechauns are the very best meat. They're not a bit greasy or stringy or tough. Take one little bite and you can't get enough. That misogynist song was written by a friend of ours who wrote it for Christy, her being a vegetarian, and leprechauns are vegetarian, so by that logic Christy can eat leprechaun stew. Who is that there now knocking the ditch down? Who is that there now knocking the ditch down? Who is that there knocking the ditch down? Only me says it's Cumba. Cumba dear, don't come any near to me. Cumba dear, don't come any near to me. Cumba dear, don't come any near to me. Maybe that's says Cumba. Casual, this is the ball on the winnicky. Casual, this is the ball on the winnicky. Casual, this ball on the winnicky. Miss me, it's a Cumba. Cumba, not that in this little home. Cumba, not that in this little home. Cumba, not that in this little home. Come in, it's the Cumba. Who is that there now knocking the window pane? Who is that there now knocking the window pane? Who is that there knocking the window pane? Only me says Cumba dear, don't come any near to me. Cumba dear, don't come any near to me. Cumba dear, don't come any near to me. Maybe that shouldn't say Cumba. Casual, this is that talking more on the key. Casual, this is that talking more on the key. Casual, this is nothing more on the key. Miss me, it's a Cumba. Cumba, not that in this girl. Cumba, not that in this girl. Cumba, not that in this girl. Come in, it's a Cumba. Who is that there now kicking the toes of me? Who is that there now kicking the toes of me? Who is that there kicking the toes of me? Only me says Cumba. Cumba dear, don't come any near to me. Cumba dear, don't come Who is that there now taking the toes of me? Who is that there now taking the sides of me? Who is that there taking the sides of me? Only myself says come, dear, don't come any near to me. Come, dear, don't come any near to me. Come, dear, don't come any near to me. I'm here in the house says come. There was called mouth music or lilting, and when they didn't have an instrument in the house, or they were trying to conceal the fact that they were having a dance from the English, they would just lilt the tunes. And I was told by a master practitioner that the biggest amount of curse words that you managed to sneak in without anybody noticing, the better lilter you were. So there were 19 curse words there. I know it's a Sunday, so I didn't go over 20.
I'm scandalized.
So Christy was playing the bodhrán, the Irish frame drum. The bodhrán is spelled B-O-D-H-R-A-N, but pronounced bodhrán. The bodhrán is usually made from goat skin, but when they run out of goat skin with which to make the bodhrán and they have to use dog skin, it's called a bow-wow-rán. Alas, poor Fido, I knew him well. Well, there wasn't any room in the van, and we believe in reincarnation. Price of dog food was getting really expensive, and this is a real shaggy dog story. And I was born 5 miles from the Blarney Stone, and that's the only true thing I just said.
Well, this is a song that was written by a harpist from New York City called Bobby Wayne. A song about women's shoes called Les Femmes Chaussées, which in French means the shoed women. And if you want to sing along, the chorus is Les Femmes Chaussées, Les Femmes Chaussées, Les Femmes Chaussées, Chaussées. Pretty easy. But this year we were traveling in the Rockies, and we were in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, looking for a cheap place to stay for the night.
And we found the cheapest place.
The Bates Motel. There we were looking for a place, and we saw the sign. A blackened shape of a hotel with bats in the sky and lightning bolts and a pool of blood in front of the door, and we thought, let's give it a try. And so we walked up to the counter, and here came this huge man. And
dressed in a hair shirt.
Dressed in a hair shirt, and his dog put his paws on the counter and licked my hand, and he said, "Oh, he likes you, you can stay." We thought, oh, what if he didn't like me? What if that happened? So we stayed at the Bates Motel, and we turned on the television to see what was going on, and there was the BBC News. And they were showing the latest fashions from Paris. And we watched the emaciated models walking down the catwalk, tottering in their amazingly high stilettos. And one model fell off of her shoes not once, but twice, as she attempted to walk down
and
the
the
catwalk.
BBC showed it in slow motion replay.
Like a sporting event. And then I thought, have we taken this fashion thing a little too far?
Yeah.
By the way, we stayed at the Bates Motel on another occasion too. It was a fine motel.
Yes. So if you'd like to sing along, here's the chorus.
Les femmes chaussées, 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 chaussées.
You want to try that?
Les femmes chaussées, 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 chaussées.
patient, thought it neat to find his baby daughter's feet. A hobbling woman stayed at home, while husband's feet were free to roam. They found Jose, 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 Jose.
To Louis Cans the honor goes for donning heels with pointy toes. But when those shoes began to vex,
He passed them to the other sex. They found Jose, 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 Jose.
Victorian woman hid her looks, laced up and bound by button hooks. And bloomer girls, they made the news, kicked off their skirts but left the shoes. They found Jose,
They found Jose, they found Jose, they found Jose, they found Jose, they found Jose, they found Jose, Jose.
Now modern woman has a choice. Politically she's found her voice, but she'll have podiatric woes till she is free from heel to toe. Now all humanitarians know heels are for barbarians. Let's add this to our list of goals. Let's kick those suckers off our souls.
They found Jose, 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 Jose. They found Jose, 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 Jose. They found Jose, Jose, they found Jose, Jose. What can we do with the dulcimer?
Actually, no,
What? Oh, okay.
we're going to do something with the guitar.
Okay, or do you want to do the sitar?
Oh yeah, let's do the
Let's do
sitar.
the sitar. You tune for the raga?
Yeah. Now, this is a raga. A raga is a classical form of music from India. The ragas are in the thousands, but there are many ragas that have gone out of popularity, and so there's about maybe 10,000 ragas that are still popular. And the different schools of Indian music are responsible for keeping them alive, but also adding to the repertoire. And so once you've studied the music, I studied for 10 years, you are at liberty to create your own ragas. So this is a raga I composed this past year for a man, a very famous man in the Indian tradition, Ali Akbar Khan. Ali Akbar Khan is Ravi Shankar's brother-in-law, and his father, Alauddin Khan, was instrumental in modernizing the sitar. He was the teacher of Ravi Shankar and Ali Akbar Khan, and really, he was the man who taught the first generation, one of the men that taught the first generation of people who played the modern sitar. So George Harrison is in the second generation, and I'm in the third generation of people to study the modern sitar. Now, Ali Akbar Khan, like his father, was a great teacher and started a school of Indian music here in California, in Marin County in San Rafael. It's a fully accredited college, so you can get up to a master's degree in Indian classical music, one of the only places outside of India where you can do so. He died last November, and in his honor, I wrote this raga called Raga Ali Kalyan. Now the raga is in 3 movements, much like our classical Western music. We have movements in the Indian tradition. The first movement is very slow and just outlines the scale of the raga, going up the scale and down the scale to familiarize you with the notes. The second movement, that's called alap. The second movement, called jor, adds a tempo, a beat, a pulse, but no set rhythmic pattern. And then the third movement, called gut, introduces a melody, and I improvise around that melody, and the drum comes in, the doumbek comes in and keeps the time.
By the way, the doumbek is from Morocco, but it has a device from Armenia in it, which is a tambourine mounted inside it. You can see it through here. So when I hit with my tip of my fingers, I just get the drum sound, but when I hit with the heel of my hand, I get the tambourine. And then I put my hand inside the bell to change the pitch of the drum to sort of imitate the tablas, which are the drums that traditionally accompany the sitar. And we saw Ravi Shankar last November in San Francisco, and he was playing with his daughter Anushka. He's also the father of Nora Jones, the jazz singer. But he was playing with Anushka, and they said he was only going to play half of the concert, but he played the whole concert. And he came out, and at the end of the bows and all that, and he said, I first came to San Francisco, one of my favorite cities, in 1932. I was 12 years old, and I danced and I played the sitar, and I hope to be back in my 90th year, which he was just about to turn 90. And somebody saw him just recently. He's still playing. It's amazing. We'll do 3 more if we have patience for that.
All right, well, this is a song I wrote for Father's Day a couple years ago, since my dad's here. He's a great reason why I am a musician. He still has a gig every Thursday in San Diego, and he plays trombone in a swing orchestra.
Is it a 40-piece?
40.
Well, it's 20 pieces.
20-piece orchestra.
20 piece.
So if you're ever down in San Diego and you like the music of the swing era and you want to come and really see an orchestra playing, you know, Tommy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, Louis Armstrong arrangements done very well at the Chinese restaurant, of all places, the Lucky Star in El Cajon.
No,
I think
no. University and 54th
University and
Street in
54th in San Diego.
I think the story was that this couple from Hong Kong loved to swing dance, so they built a Chinese restaurant around the dance floor.
And the food is actually really good. And so anyway, every Thursday you can come and hear some great music.
Is there dancing?
There's a
Lots of
huge
dancing.
dance floor. So if you like to dance, it's a great place. And if you like to watch people dance, it's fabulous. I mean, people come every week who really know the music of the swing era and dance very well.
What's the name of the restaurant?
The Lucky Star.
Lucky Star Restaurant in San Diego.
Also, you go to our website.
Yeah,
Lucky Star
the Moonlight Serenade Orchestra website will tell
Which
you
is
all.
www.themso.com.
The MSO, MoonlightSerenadeOrchestra.com. So this is a song about a dads. You know, I mean, not all of us can be a father, but we can all influence. Men can influence, any man can influence the life of another person as a father would influence. By your kind words, by your example, by giving good advice. So this is for all of you wonderful men in the audience, a song for all of you and for all our fathers called A Child's Many Fathers. Wait a second. I shouldn't have that on there.
No, you shouldn't.
I shouldn't. I was planning to play a different song. Ah! Wait a minute. Ah!
Oh. So I have to tell a tuning joke. You know, you know what's the definition of perfect pitch? It's when you throw an accordion, in the dumpster and it lands flat on a banjo. Perfect pitch. And there was a friend of mine who was an accordion. I don't know why accordions have such a bad rap, but a friend of mine who was an accordion player, and he went to a gig in San Francisco, and when he came back, his car had been broken into, and there was 4 more accordions and a banjo in the back seat.
There you go. Thank you, Ayo.
He wouldn't like that. We won't tell him that.
A child has many fathers, like a river has many streams. Each father has the power to plant a mighty seed that grows into a child, like a flower in the wind, who spreads a father's wisdom and plants the seed again. Some fathers, they are leaders. They teach you right from wrong. They know that the easy path can take you twice as long. And others, they are craftsmen. Their hands know many trades. They teach you not to be afraid of the challenge of the day. For a child has many fathers, like a river has many streams. Each father has the power to plant a mighty seed that grows into a child, like a flower in the wind, who spreads a father's wisdom and plants the seed again. A patient father teaches the child to be smart, to reason through each problem, and not to push too hard.
next album, and
We
it's
think.
a fully
We think.
produced. It
We
is
think.
going to be on. It is going to be on.
CD, and we have to figure out what we're going to do about that. I guess it's on the next one.
You should have such a problem.
Well, we'll do 2 more songs and call it a night. And again, thank you so much to Paddy and Richard for opening up this to their first concert. So this is a song that's on our new one that we have here. It's the original version of Robert Burns' song, the Auld Lang Syne. And Auld Lang Syne means for the good old times, the times long past. And it basically talks about separation by sea, by distance, by time, and how when you get back together, it's great to have a good old drink and talk about the times long past. And it's a little bit, some of the words are a little bit difficult to understand because it's in Scots English. And I mean, the Scots are kind of weird anyway.
Barbara says she can vouch for that.
But we'd love to have you join in with us on this chorus. The chorus is just a little different from what is normally sung at New Year's Eve. So we'll run through the chorus. The words are, for Auld Lang Syne, me Joe, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet, for Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, me Joe, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet, for Auld Lang Syne. So that's a device, it's a Strathspey rhythm, Syne, that's common in Scottish music. So let's try that again. For Auld Lang Syne, me Joe, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet, for Auld Lang Syne. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and Auld Lang Syne? For Auld Lang Syne, me Joe, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet, for Auld Lang Syne. And surely you'll be your deeds do, and surely I'll be mine, and we'll take a cup of kindness yet, for Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, me Joe, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet, for Auld Lang Syne. We twa hero no put the praise and put the go on time, that we've wandered mony a weary fit sin Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, me Joe, for Auld kindness yet, for old lang syne. We twa hae paddled in the burn frae morning sun till dine, but seas between us great hae roared sin old lang syne. For old lang syne, me Joe, for old lang syne, will you take a cup of kindness yet, for old lang syne? And there's a hand me trusty dear, and gi's a hand o' thine, and we'll take a right good willie wacht for old lang